found myself quite surprised this morning at how unnecessarily difficult it can sometimes be to reinstall a relatively old piece of hardware, in this case a Hewlett-Packard scanner, on a reasonably new computer. Obviously, I'd been using this scanner for a good long period of time back on an old Windows XP machine, which I still use today for my sins. I know I probably shouldn't. But I thought, like, okay, no, time to step into the 1990s. It's at least give it a try. Set the scanner up under Windows 90, under Windows 7. Windows 97 nearly said that. That really would be back in time. But obviously HP's website is pretty good. You type in what you're looking for, it gives you all the drivers you need. So in this case, off to HP I go. It tells me exactly what I'm looking. It's got exactly what I'm looking for, as you can see just there. And as it turns out, there's a new set of drivers available. They've been created, or a new installation pack, I should say, and it's basically been updated within the last couple of weeks. This should, in theory, be the very, very most up-to-date piece of software sort of like that I'm ever likely to install. I mean, this is like the 19th of August. This is like 6 days ago. This should be as box fresh as it comes. And so obviously you think, okay, this is good. Full feature software and driver. That sounds like everything I need. There couldn't be any problem with that. So download it and give it a spin. So of course, what happens, what we actually find, is that when you go to install it, it thinks about it for a couple of seconds. Obviously you have the Windows 7 user account controls type thing, but it goes through the process. It's extracting. This is all very good, very positive. But then there seems to be a surprise in the tale, which is that when it's finished extracting and when it gets to the splash screen for actually installing the software, then it's a couple of basic pieces of software and some drivers, a bit of OCR stuff, the kind of thing that you expect with a standard scanner. We get HP Invent, and then Macromedia Projector has stopped working. Windows is checking for a solution to the problem. I mean, you may as well ask your nearest garden gnome for that, because it's certainly not going to tell you. And you can Google around for quite some time, and you'll see loads of other people saying, like, oh, Macromedia Projector has stopped working. And you'll see one or two people saying, Macromedia Projector hasn't been a current product since at least the early 2000s. What on earth are HP thinking? So Windows will close the program and notify you if a solution is available. Well, that's not terribly handy. And what you can do, you can try running as administrator. It makes no difference. You can try troubleshooting compatibility, which basically gives you an opportunity to go through and select different levels of compatibility. So you can say, actually, I want Windows 7 to run this install as if it was Windows 95. And you think, well, that surely can't cause it. That must be the solution. There's nothing in a piece of even say this 6-day-old piece of driverware that shouldn't run on perhaps a slightly older version of Windows. So you give that a try, and it does, as you might expect, pretty much exactly the same thing. It will almost invisibly pop up the user account control down the bottom there and say, yes, okay, we want to allow this program to do its worst. Let's let it get on with it. And it will make some attempt at installing, as it lags the screen horrifically, but, well, in this case it's not going to do anything at all, obviously. No, try again using different settings. Oh no, something's happening. Here we go. Yes. And in this case, of course, it brings the shutters down and says, like, no, Windows 95 is much too old to run this supremely up-to-date software. There's possibly some kind of indication of its age there. What it says here, that supported operating systems include Windows 2000, Windows XP, and Windows Vista. Unfortunately, setting the compatibility to Windows XP, Windows 2000, or Windows Vista makes absolutely no difference. You still get the Macromedia has crashed error. And obviously set it back any further than that, and you get this, no mate, you can't install this. So there's not an awful lot you can do about it. However, I actually lucked upon the solution, as I say, more by luck than judgment, is that obviously a lot of downloader and installer packages that you can download off the internet obviously this is like 152 meg roughly. It's a pretty chunky thing, but it's obviously it's not one piece of software, and you can tell from when you double click on it when it goes through the process of actually extracting. It's obviously a compressed archive. So in that case, maybe there's something we can do that doesn't follow the established flow of the expected installer. So perhaps what I can do, I've got WinRAR installed here, but I presume you could probably do it with other unzip utilities. We can just extract what's in that installer and put it in a directory, and at least have a look around and see what's going on. So as you can see, what it's doing here is that it's unloading the contents of that file just basically into a directory. So we can at least have a nose around, find out what's going on, and see if there's anything we can do to make life any easier. It doesn't take a couple of seconds. It's not a very complicated process. And what we'll see if we go into the so this is the directory now that has been unzipped from the installer, as it were. And what you'll see is basically a whole bunch of stuff. Setup. Let's try setup. Try that, and Macromedia Projector has stopped working. So okay, maybe that setup is just a glossy front end for other files in this directory that actually do the work. Maybe that if we can avoid running this beautiful HP Invent +++++ screen here, if we can avoid that splash screen, maybe we can just find something that does the installing and gets on with it. Obviously you can see here there's loads of DAT files and drivers and all manner of DLLs and stuff like that. So if you really wanted to wear the hair shirt and install your scanner absolutely manually, you probably could do that. But hopefully what I was hoping was that there would be something around here that sort of like could basically just bypass the problem with setup. And well, we've got auto run there. What does that do? What's actually in that? Let's see if we can open it. What does it say? Nonsense. Nothing there of any use to anybody. And obviously I'm going to skip to the end here, because after lots of clicking around and a certain amount of trial and error, I found where the problem was. These two files here might actually be rather more interesting. HPZ setup, don't bother with that, it won't do anything. HPZ stub, and you'll notice the date on this is 2010. It seems actually the only thing that's been updated recently, the only part of this installer that has been altered this year is the auto run and the setup and a couple of DAT files, which is amazing that HP can actually put out software that in 2014 clearly does not run on any modern piece of computer equipment. Does not run on any modern computer. You think, what on earth are they thinking? But okay, I'll forgive them this, because as it turns out this seems to work. If we double click on HPZ stub and go through the this came from the internet, dangerous, we run it, and I like the look of that little spinning CD. That sounds like, looks like some kind of installer. Do I want this program to make the changes to this computer? Hell yes. Yes I do. Yes, do it. And thank you for choosing HP. This looks all very, very promising. For alert dialogues, allow programs to proceed. Blocking installation will cause it to fail. For best results, leave your firewall software enabled. You don't see that very often on installers. A lot of them say, like, oh no, I'm sorry, our shonky installer process doesn't work with firewalls and antivirus. You should turn all that stuff off, which is really terrible advice. Running antivirus software can slow the installation process significantly and may cause a failure. Well, I don't think we're going to worry about that. Let's just do it. Blah 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 blah. I have of course accepted all of the agreements. I mean, who wouldn't? Next. Yes, next. There we go. Right, thank you for choosing HP. Checking for updates. Well, it's even checking for updates. I like the sound of that. Preparing for system installation. Installing software, and you can see it's installing item 1 of 3, the Scanjet 5590. That seems pretty hopeful. It looks like it's going to do what it should do, and as it happens, I know that it will do. Now, I'm going to admit that I cheated, as that I actually obviously installed this before the program, before the screen capture was running. So I know that this works, and as it happens, when I installed it for the first time, it brought in, it actually did four steps in the install rather than the 3 that it's showing there. But as before, it did this. You can connect your scanner to your computer now, so let's give that a try. And as you will see, installing device driver software. Let's have a look at the status of that, because it's hidden behind another window, but let's bring that down there. Scanner sounds happy and ready to roll. So it's found the driver software from Windows Update, which is odd really, because you'd think it would actually get it from the installer, but don't care, it works. Ready to use. So we close, it's installing the software, it's configuring the product. Do I want to automatically turn the scanner off? Well, it does that by itself anyway, so I'm not really bothered about that. Next, thank you for purchasing. Your product is ready to use, but HP has more to offer. Additional screens may appear to help you get started with your product. No, don't need to install. No, don't remind me again. And as you can see, well, that looks like it's done. Now, what's happening over here? Well, what we should be able to see is that over in the HP section we have HP Update and Scanjet and all those familiar pieces of software that we remember from our Windows XP days. Actually, as it turns out, these actually look quite different to the software that's installed with the original CD that comes with the scanner, which of course is like hundreds of years old now. But if I just lean over to the scanner and press the scan button, as you can see, what happens is that it automatically starts up the scanning software on the computer. I'm going to say I'm going to have that picture as a file. I've just put something on the glass. It's obviously got no idea what kind of size it is or whatever. If I just press scan, JPEG, yes, scan's good. I like scans. Okay. And it doesn't take long. It actually works out really quite quickly. It doesn't completely mark out the area that I'd wish to scan. This is obviously just an example, but we say okay, that's fine, finish. It scans the thing, and it doesn't even need to rerun the scanner again. Sometimes I think what I seem to recall when I used to do this on the old machine is that sometimes it would do a preview scan and then you would need to scan it again for real once you decided what kind of resolution and what part of the scan you wanted. Perhaps that's a memory thing, I don't know, but obviously in this case it seems pretty happy. It's certainly pleased with that. So if I then go off to the scan directory, which I believe is under there, have a look, and boom, scanned. And it works, and that is how you get your scanner installed under Windows 7. Thanks for watching.